Hello and welcome to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. This week we're doing the Tigercast with a bit of a twist. We've got an opposition poster on this week, which will be interesting just to get their views and thoughts on all things football and to help add a bit of spice to the preview of the big game against Essendon. But we'll start with our Richmond guest for this week. He was the fill-in host for a few weeks while I was away and did a stellar job. Rodney Dangerfield, welcome.
G'day, Michael. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
That's the way. It's a bit different to be doing this on a Sunday night, but we'll make it work. It's good that all the games are done and dusted, and I suppose it's a bit more fresh in our minds. Now, you told me that you had a bit of a story you wanted to share.
Well, I know you love your little fun facts, and I did say last time a lot of weird shit happens to me, and I couldn't quite think of anything that wasn't too blue to say, but one that reminded me was Elton John's wig, actually, because he messaged me about 2 years ago because I was going away on a golf trip, and he said, "Oh, how about we catch up for a beer?" And I never got his message, and he's very lucky that he never, because what actually happened on this golf trip was ridiculous. I was having a beer, as you do on a golf trip with your mates, and far too many beers. And I'd had a bet with a mate. It was over an Essendon game when they had that fill-in side when they were serving their suspension. They beat Melbourne. And I said they'd beat Melbourne that day. He said, "There's no way. If they do, I'll buy you drinks for 6 hours on the golf trip." Anyway, we've been on the beer all day. And it got to the time when he had to start buying me drinks. And my other mate comes up and says, "There's a bloke, he's struggling. Rodney, he didn't call me Rodney, obviously, but he's struggling and, he looks really crook. First aid. Go and have a look at him." I said, "What do you want me to do?" I'm pissed. And I went and had a look at this bloke. And I said, "Mate, you're on a bit of strife." No, I'm all right. I'm going to call you an ambulance." He said, No. Oh, fair enough. So I went back to drinking my free beer on me, mate. It just started the 6 hours. My mate comes back. "That bloke's gone down." So go over to this bloke and he's gone. He's down, out. I'm doing CPR on this bloke. I'm asking for a defib, and they put the defib. And I'm working on this bloke. I'm sweating bullets. Fair income, he was gone. 15 minutes I was working on him, and I just happened to look up, and it was like they were watching a footy game. I just looked up, and there's about 15 of my mates just standing there, just sipping pots, watching me and barracking for me. Come on. And I just thought, Jesus Christ. So anyway, I kept going, and then I heard the ambulance had come. Someone else was there to help me, so I went out to meet the ambulance. And as I was walking out to get the ambulance, my mate grabbed me, the one who owed me the 6 hours of free piss. He grabbed me, he goes, "Hey." So what he goes, "This is eating into the time. This is part of the time." And I'm gone. So now I'm laughing. Got a bloke dead on the ground, basically. I'm trying not to laugh, meeting the ambulance. They're looking at me like I'm some sort of an idiot. Come back. Anyway, long story short, the poor bugger died.
Oh, shit.
And it was about 50 minutes worth, and I was buggered by the end of it. And I go up to get a drink at the bar, and the barman goes, and my mate comes up and he goes, No, I've got it, I owe him. He goes, "Is this you're the bloke that was just working on the fella, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "No, the beer's free for you for the rest of the evening." My mate's walking away going, "Yeah." Yes. And I'm going, Jesus Christ. And then someone got dirty because, it was a pretty ordinary look, and we ended up getting kicked out of the place anyway because it's all too pissed carrying on. You got family members there, and he's giving it the yes, while the bloody bloke's dead on the ground. So I never got me free ball either way.
Wow, what a...
So, yeah.
It's a few ups and downs all in one go. Jesus.
That's the sort of mates I have. Great.
Well, that's going to be a tough one to top, but I'll introduce our Essendon guest, Loonerty. Welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Michaels. Hey, Rodney, how's it going?
Good. Learned yourself?
Yeah, good.
All right, you had a story for us as well, Loonerty. What have you got?
Yeah, mine's a bit more positive than that one.
Would be hard.
So I thought I should endear myself to the Tigers fans because I don't know how receptive you lot are to having an opposition poster on your podcast generally, but this would have been a few years ago. It was very early January, and I was heading off to the beach with some friends for the day. And I was getting picked up, and I was running a bit late, and I hadn't got any sunscreen. So I had a quick look in the bathroom, looked in the cupboard under the sink, saw the word sun, went, yep, good, grabbed that bottle, took it with me. Got to the beach, started putting on this sunscreen, and it came out blue. And I thought, oh, that's weird. Never seen blue sunscreen before. But alright, just kept going, put it all on. And I sort of noticed a bit later that it wasn't really, like, soaking into the skin that well. And I was a bit confused, but, you know, just kept going. Offered it to friends, they didn't want any, so that was fine. And then I had a look at the bottle later, and it turned out that I had picked up Sun. I don't know if either of you guys know what that is, but it's like an anti-dandruff shampoo that I was trying to use as sunscreen.
How'd that turn out for you?
Well, I'll tell you, my arm hair got pretty clean that day, so it was alright. Tried to wash it off and it just lathered completely, so yeah. So that was not my smartest day.
So just pays to read the bottle.
Yeah.
In its entirety, I guess, not just half of it.
To be fair, yeah, well, I mean, if it has sun in the title, I thought it was a pretty safe bet to be sunscreen, but clearly not.
Did you get burnt?
No, because it was because it was making like a layer on top of the skin. The sun couldn't get into it, so it was fine.
At least it wasn't hair removal like Nads or something. Could have been worse.
Yeah.
All right, we'll push on to the roast and toast for this week. Loonerty, I've given you the toast. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so I'll just go straight away with an Essendon perspective here. I'm going to toast Mark Bagley. I don't know if you guys have watched our last couple of games or seen much from our last two games, but he was probably one of the biggest candidates for a dropping after that Carlton game. A lot of the Essendon board wanted his head, basically. He's just turned 31. We're thinking, why are we playing this guy when we could have, some of the kids in? But the last 2 weeks, he's played forward and absolutely killed it. Last night he kicked 3 goals when his career total now is 9 goals. So he's absolutely smashing it up forward. He's bringing a lot of pressure, which has sorely been missed.
Yeah, I saw the last part of your game last night. He was pretty good, and the conditions obviously weren't the greatest for that game, but he did pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah.
Okay, Rodney, you've got the roast.
My roast is the Adelaide Crows. Injuries aside, they are insipid at the moment. I just can't believe it. To have been the best team all year last year, which they were, but they weren't the best team when it counted, obviously. But I just thought, I would have backed them at the start of the year to win the flag this year. I thought, how can you have to bounce back from that? I know they've had a lot of injuries, but they just have a lack of genuine leadership, which makes me laugh. Tex Walker's been named, he was named, the best captain in the competition for a couple of years there.
Yep.
And I honestly think they're a chance to miss the 8. And it might be at the expense of an Essendon. Now, I think North Melbourne, they're going to make it. I would
North Melbourne, I'd say, sure.
They've been fantastic. And, Jake Lever, he must have been there today laughing his head off. The Jake Lever story is endemic of what Adelaide are. That's their culture problem that they had. They really thought that this bloke was leaving. You're going to miss out on winning the flag. Well, who's laughing now? Because I reckon Melbourne, at this point, to me, are the flag favourites, I would say. I really rate Melbourne. I think they're a massive chance to take the flag out. I know that Richmond sort of was 80 here and that. And, they even booked a seat for the Premiership Cup on the way home last year, these Dags. So, Adelaide, as an Adelaide supporter, you'd be absolutely filthy. They're going nowhere at the moment. They're going backwards.
I haven't gone and checked out the Adelaide board just yet, but I might have some nighttime reading later on. But they lost by, I'm just having a look on my phone, 91 points. That's an absolute smashing.
I mean, they had big losses last year as well, but not this much. There was that loss to North.
There's something about today's loss that was just, you don't come from.
91 points.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people sort of fail to remember that from the back half of last season onwards, they really didn't win that many games. Like, they had
Right.
some pretty bad form, and it just looks like it's carried over. But like you said, Ronnie, they've got some injuries and stuff like that, but you can still apply effort no matter how many people you've got out, and from what I saw today, there was zero effort from anyone on the ground.
They gave up today. I was watching a fair bit of that game, and they gave up. It was horrible to watch. They've slipped a long way.
Very interesting. Who have they got coming up then in the next week?
Next week they have Giants.
So, and that's, I mean, in Adelaide helps, but that's, yeah.
It is in Adelaide, actually.
Yeah,
That's
Adelaide.
A big game. Both
Yeah.
teams, really.
I mean, Giants have got some good players out as well, so that'd be interesting. Both teams, I mean, really desperately need to win.
The thing about the Giants is they've got a lot of good players out, but to me, they're still fighting. They're still digging in deep. They're just not getting the wins, and I think they'll be okay when their players come back. You take those players out of any side and you're in strike. But Adelaide, it's the opposite. The effort's not there. Wouldn't be surprised if the Giants beat them.
It's weird because, like, with the other players getting a go in Adelaide with the injuries they've got, you'd think they'd be fighting hard to keep their spot for when the other players are ready to return, but you're just not really seeing any of that.
No, they're paddling at the moment.
All right, we'll push on to the review of our games from the weekend. So, Rodney, will start with the Tigers. So, Richmond 15-15, 105, defeated St Kilda 12-5, 77, won by 28 points. What did you think of the game?
I thought the game was pretty average. Obviously, losing two players in the first quarter added to that, but early on in the game, it looked as though we were going to give them a beer stumping. But I don't want to take anything away from the Saints, but I just think our last 3 weeks have been a little bit average. But I'll give Richmond credit. The game was won on belief and resilience, really, and it's something we never had in the past. It's something we've only picked up in the last 12 to 18 months. There's no way we win that game years gone by. Very ugly game, but a really good win in the end of the day. I'm not sure the day's going to take its toll, though, because it was a very hard day, obviously, with the lack of rotations, and we're finally getting a little bit of bad luck, injury-wise. Not to a great extent, like season-ending injury. But I'm just wondering how that's going to play out next week, although I did notice Essendon played, and this is quite serious, I'm not joking about this, that shit they played in last night, in the smoke, that will affect them. I noticed through my work and stuff like that. That was very ordinary conditions to play in last night. So
I missed that. What happened there?
There was a lot of backburning in the area. It was very smoky.
Jeez, it was smoky. And
I was at the game. It wasn't good.
Yeah. Probably the game should have been, to be quite honest with you, the game probably should have been postponed. That's how bad it was.
It did clear up. I mean, we can talk about this in a bit, I guess, but it did clear up a little bit. It was sort of mostly bad around halfway. But, yeah, it was still pretty thick.
Yeah, they'll be feeling it. No doubt about that. They'll feel that for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
That's always like, there's been a couple of games over the course of the years where, for whatever reason, they've let off fireworks beforehand. And it's like, that can't be good when that kind of stuff lingers around as well. But to actually have backburning going on, that's to be surprising that wasn't closely monitored.
Yeah, it was thick.
And what did you make of Callum Moore and Menadue and Brandon Ellis on his return? How did you view their games?
I thought Brandon Ellis was an improved effort on, he's obviously gone back to the two, done his penance. Looked very determined yesterday. I thought he played a pretty reasonable. Callum Moore looked, to be quite honest, a little bit out of his depth. It's a hard role he's playing, though. Like, I think Jacob Townsend's been really undervalued by a lot of the supporters. Obviously not by the club, but I understand why he had to go back to the twos, because he needed to go back and win some ball, get a bit of confidence. But he just does an unbelievably selfless job. No other. Actually, it was interesting that Looney brought up Bagley. It reminded me a little bit of Townsend last night, the role he's playing. Very difficult role to play. And Callum Moore sort of got thrown into that role, if you know what I mean. And I think it's a pretty tough role to play.
It is. I felt bad for Callum Moore because he's come into the side as the second forward to play that Townsend role, and within 10 minutes, he's the key forward for the game. So I think all things considered, I watched him a bit more closely after that just to see how he adapted, and he was doing all right. He was getting to the contest, crashing packs. His leading up outside the 50 was good. We used him a few times. I know he kicked 3 points, but the places he was taking his shots from weren't exactly easy. But I think all things considered, he did okay. But yeah, a lot of pressure was thrown on him, so it'll be interesting to see if Riewoldt gets up this week or not, and how we kind of structure up for that. Menadue, I thought, was a little bit lackluster. I don't know whether he was just extremely nervous, but he had a bit of the fumbles. But the guy I want to give a bit of a clip to is Dan Butler. I know he kicked 3 goals, but that would be the worst 3-goal game you'll ever see in your life, I reckon.
Well, I'm a little bit worried because I think Jason Castagna are both in horrible form. Castanya's got his supporters on the board, and I know he has his positive attributes, but he is just going as well. And I know he's injured yesterday, but he's no walk-up start back into the side for me. And I think Jack Higgins has got a fair way to go too.
Yep.
He's poor decisions, and he's got some real skill issues. So those small forwards, they're not clicking the way they were last year. And but the work rate isn't quite as high. We're not getting the separation in the forward line that we did last year, and I think that's been shown up with our entries. We're entering the ball from a lot deeper, if you've noticed. We're kicking the ball in from about 80 metres instead of the train of handballs to 50 and working it in from there. And I can see Hurley and Goddard taking 30 marks each next week, to be quite honest, if that doesn't change. Yeah,
if we keep going down that path, absolutely. And Loonerty, the Essendon Bombers got up by 35 points. Was that an unexpected margin, or were you guys confident going into the game? How did you see that all unfold?
I thought we could win. I wasn't particularly confident because I've been, bitten a fair bit this season with that. I was just mostly looking for a consistent effort after the game against Geelong, and they certainly brought that and more. So 35 points was definitely a pleasant surprise.
And how do you think the guys have adapted without Joe Danaher down there? He's obviously been your focal point for quite a few years now, but without him being there, has it improved the way you've brought the ball inside 50, being a bit more unpredictable?
Yeah, I think so. I think it helps that McKernan has actually played quite well in Danaher's absence as well. And it's sort of when we're not just bombing it to Joe was a tactic that was a favourite of the team for a long time. Now that we can't do that, we have to actually be a bit smarter with our entries inside 50. So I think it has been a bit better. Hopefully once Joe gets back, we'll continue to do that and just have him be there, because he's still a better player than McKernan is. Once he gets over the OP that he has.
Yeah, fair enough. Did you catch any of their game, Rodney?
Yeah, I did. I was flicking. I mainly watched the Essendon GWS game, and they were pretty impressive. It was. I'm not quite sure I posted on the board. I'm pretty sure I posted on the board, but Essendon's form when they were going very ordinary 2 or 3 weeks ago was never going to be a long-term thing. I made the finals last year. It's every team goes through those peaks and troughs, and they were always going to start to pick up, and we're going to meet them probably when they're on the up, and we're on the way a little bit down. So it changes pretty quickly, and I've been pretty impressed with their work rate. They've changed the way they're played, and Loonerty would agree with that.
Yeah.
The whole thing's changed when Danaher's out of the side and Hurley now out of the side. That's some pretty significant changes, and just like us last year, by necessity, we've had to change the way we played, and look what happened. And Essendon, who knows, they may be going through the same sort of thing.
Well, the frustrating thing, so the first 8 weeks or whatever of the season, we were not playing anything like we played last year. Last year we were all about just quick ball movement, moving through the ground quite fast. And this year it just, for whatever reason, it just slowed down incredibly. We'd always look for a switch when it wasn't necessarily on. You'd have Hurley and Goddard just chipping around in the back line, just inviting pressure basically. But the last 2 weeks that hasn't been the case. It's all been massive pressure, lots of lots of fast movement. And I think having Fantasia back, he's probably our most important player because not only is he like an X factor around the goals, he is just adds so much run and he's a very clever player.
Well, Zaharakis is an excellent player. Good player.
Yeah.
I think it cut out there. Was that for Zaharakis, was it?
Yeah, Zaharakis is
Yeah.
a very good player.
Yeah.
And even young Andy McGrath, he's a very likely type as well. I like the way he goes about it.
Yeah.
I just want to duck back to our game quickly. I'm not sure I'm sure you've seen this specific incident, Looney, but the goal review system is just a disgrace. Now, I'll admit that when they showed the replay on the scoreboard at the game after Higgins kicked that goal and Hickey marked it over the line, the replay on the scoreboard, I said straight away that they're going to pay that behind because it did look like it was in line with the padding of the goalpost, which is ridiculous. But then upon sort of getting home and seeing the little images floating around on social media, the reverse angle of that clearly showed the ball was way over the line when he marked it. Now, I don't know if they had access to that footage or not, but how do they get that so wrong, Rodney?
You said it already, and Damien Harvey said it's an embarrassment. And more coaches, more prominent figures in the game need to come out and really belittle it in that way because it's exactly what it is. I'm sick of this with our game. Our fixture's embarrassing. Now, this is embarrassing. And you see the world game football, I'm not 100% across the board, but I know in the EPL, they've just dispensed with this. This doesn't work. You've seen the A-League, the grand final.
That was a shocker.
Yeah.
So why have something if you can't do it 100% right? Every ground, they played in Alice Springs today, as Dimmer alluded to, every ground has different camera angles, different setups, different technology. Just get rid of it. It doesn't work. It slows the game down. There's more controversial decisions than not. For 100-odd years, we just played the game a bit like cricket. Don't get me started on that. We played the game where the umpire's decision was final. You won some, you lost some. Just move on with the game. Get rid of it. It shits me.
Did you see the incident, Looney?
I did, yeah. I can't remember that. Was it originally called a goal?
Yeah, so the umpire's call was a goal, and he wanted to double check if it was touched.
You can't overturn that based on that the footage. I mean, yeah, like you said, and I think the commentators even said it as well. They weren't sure whether the reviewers got that second angle, but surely you would have to have looked at both.
Because how bad would that be if the viewers at home get a better view of it than the guy making the decision?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, last night, Loonerty, you would have seen in the Essendon game, and this is where the umpires were idiots as well. The goal umpire called for a score review on one that went about 20 metres over the post.
Yeah.
Over the post. Now, no technology is going to tell you whether the ball's gone over the post.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly right.
Going up over the post. It was all. I think it was pretty much laughed off by the review panel and play on. It's up to them to show some common sense as well and what got just...
it's the sort of the problem, and I know this has been an argument against like DRS and stuff in cricket, is that it sort of becomes, instead of being a something to get rid of the howlers, it becomes something that umpires become reliant on.
Exactly.
So they lose their sort of critical thinking and they just go, okay, well, we can just review it.
That's exactly right.
So
they lose a bit of sharpness, I think, with that.
Yeah, like you said though, Rodney, I think if they're going to do it properly. Invest the, $500,000 or whatever that looks like to actually do it properly, like what the cricket have done. Don't half-ass it because it's going to cost someone a really significant game one day. I couldn't believe seeing that footage. I think you're right. The more people, or the more that coaches and that start calling them out on it, hopefully it sends a strong enough message that they've got to either fix it or just scrap it altogether.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll be having this conversation again in 2 or 3 weeks' time, or another team will be at the very least. It's not just obviously isolated to Richmond. It happens in all games, but yeah, they've got to get their shit together. Now we'll push on to... go on.
Well, sorry, just wait till it happens in one of our grand finals. Happened in the A-League. It's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Like that A-League one, the footage was there. It was easy enough to tell, but some glitch just wouldn't let them access it. That's even worse.
Ridiculous. Embarrassing.
And in that situation, I think I said it on a podcast at the time, but they would have honestly been better off not saying that actually happened.
Yeah, right.
Given it was a 1-0 game, it's not like Melbourne Victory went on to win 5-0 or something, and it was beyond doubt that it was that one goal that cost Newcastle a chance to get back into the game. So that was, very dangerous. But yeah, we'll have the same thing happen one day, without doubt. Marvel Stadium is going to be the new name of Etihad Stadium as of the 1st of September 2018. Loonerty, what do you reckon about the new naming of the stadium?
I think it's fine. I think there's no issues with it for me. I don't think stadium names, like sponsored stadium names, really matter unless it's awful, like a Goomba Stadium in Geelong. That's terrible. But Marvel Stadium, sounds fine. Doesn't sound any worse than Etihad Stadium to me. And as long as if it's bringing in money to the AFL, then whatever.
What about the other concept of having a lot of activations and things going on outside the ground that are Marvel related? Do you think that's going to have a positive or a negative effect on all the people coming in?
I think it'd be probably positive more than anything. I mean, you're going to get, kids are going to be excited to go to the footy. You probably create a bit more of a family atmosphere. It probably would work well on sort of the, Sunday afternoon sort of time slot. Get all the family along. And isn't there something at Etihad on Sundays anyway? Something special for kids or something?
I don't know. I know they get in free or
family day or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be fine. Good.
No, I'm with you on that. I think it'd be good for the kids. I think I made a post on this, but as long as the Marvel entertainment side of things doesn't overshadow the game itself once you're inside the stadium, I think that's the real key issue. They can't make it all about Marvel once the game's on. It's still a footy game that everyone's going to see. But prior to that, I reckon go your hardest. I think kids are going to love it, and even older kids and adults as well, because everyone's seen the Marvel stuff at some point in their lives, I'm pretty sure. So I think it should be good. What about you, Rodney? Do you like the change?
Yeah, obviously I'm not that really across. I haven't read comics for about 40 years, but I did mention it to my daughter, who's 13, and her eyes lit up. She does like going to the footy for me, but obviously that's the only thing I can go off. She thought it was, oh, wow, Marvel. Exactly what you're saying. There's going to be things involved, Marvel, around the ground and, to do with the game. She thought that was a great idea. So, I can't see it hurting if it's going to get kids more interested as well.
Yeah, it was definitely a smart call by the AFL to latch on to it. The only thing that's of real interest to me is the takeover time, I guess, being the 1st of September. So if there's a final played at Etihad, as it currently stands, it'll be straight into Marvel. I thought that was interesting timing.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder whether that is just happened to be when Etihad's deal was running out, or what the thing is there.
Maybe they've gone for maximum exposure in a final series potentially for
true.
the launch. It would be interesting to know the actual cut-off point of the contract, because I'd be surprised if someone would deliberately end their contract in the middle of the start of a final series, given that's when they're probably going to make the most money.
Yeah. Did you guys see any of the reaction on the main board to that?
I read the first couple of pages and I stopped because it was just people going apeshit and shit canning the name of it, and then there was a few people with voices of reason saying, it's just the name, like it's no different to, like if Optus have paid money for the Perth Stadium or whatever it might be, and I couldn't understand the uproar on the main board. I try to avoid it.
I saw one comment that was something like, I can't believe that the AFL is finally sold out. I was thinking, what do you mean? What's Etihad? Etihad is a UAE-based airline company. Was that not selling out when they did that, or what?
Got to pay for something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get the logic with some people, but then again, it's the main board, so.
I'm going to say the same thing. We're talking about the main board, so logic out the door.
No, I think it's a good move. I think it'll kick off really nicely. I thought we'll move on and do a bit of a club self-appraisal, given we're almost at the halfway point of the year. Loonerty, I'll start with you first. Is Essendon living up to your pre-season expectations? If not, what needs to change?
The last 2 weeks, yes. Before that, definitely not. Coming into this season, I sort of expected us to be maybe around the 5th, 6th sort of level, given we finished 7th last season. 7th, I think, maybe 8th. But finishing the top 8 last season, we brought in 3 players who were slotted into our best 22 straight away. I thought, we should be at least in the hunt for the top 4. But it just has not gone that way at all. And what needed to change is just apparently sacking Mark Neal helped. And just a complete change of focus. We sort of lost the style we were playing last year, like I mentioned before. And it sort of just seemed like no one really knew what the game plan was. Whereas now, these last 2 weeks, we've started bringing some pressure back. We've started playing like we played last year. So hopefully, it's still a long way away. Hopefully we can get a good run, but we're going to have to win some games against very tough teams, such as against Richmond this weekend, to even be a chance of making the 8 at this point.
Just on the Mark Neal thing, Richmond people probably qualified to speak about this because we've sacked a lot of coaches in our time. But how much of an impact, honestly, could that have had? Being he was an assistant, it just seemed really odd that the moment you got rid of him, that all of a sudden everything's clicked and you've won 2 games in good fashion.
I'm not sure. There were a lot of talk going around. I don't know if you guys read the articles at all.
Yeah.
Saying that basically none of the assistants were able to talk directly to Worsfold or directly to the players, and that Neil had to be across everything and know everything. And it was sort of causing a bit of discontent between all the assistant coaches as well, because they were obviously, understandably, would have been frustrated if they can't go to the coach or go to the players and say, look, we're not doing this right, or we need to change this. And if Neil is the stumbling block there, the reason that that's not happening, then, results are starting to speak for themselves, it looks like. So I don't know how big an influence that was, but something has clearly changed in sort of a mindset sense, and the team is performing a lot better.
Whether he's made a scapegoat or not, it did read that way, didn't it? Like he's a real roadblock. He was meant to be the conduit, and the line coaches are going through him. And then he was putting his own interpretation onto that and passing that on to John Worsfold. And that was frustrating the line coaches who had no direct contact through John
exactly.
Worsfold. I read that. I thought,
that seems like an odd setup.
Oh yeah. Well, wondered if that could. But he's got a terrific coaching record in the AFL, Mark Neal, hasn't he? Like, almost unhorrible at local level now.
It's so bizarre because we brought him in as a development coach, which was why he was so highly rated at Collingwood. And he was doing a great job for the year or 2 that he was doing that. And then for whatever reason, he became the game day performance or game day strategy coach. And then our game day performances just went off a cliff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know why we didn't just keep him where he is proven to be doing a good job, but who knows?
It looks great for him, the results since that, doesn't it? Poor bugger. That's not on his CV good at all. Right?
And Rodney, what about the Tigers? How do you think we're living up to your pre-season expectations?
That's a funny one, Michael. I think they've exceeded my expectations, to be quite honest. I think the first 5-6 weeks we played just incredibly well. It was amazing to watch us. It was just like a fairy tale continuing on from last year, as you'd appreciate. But our level has been so high that it had to get to a point where it had to plateau, and that's happening now. But we're still getting wins. So whilst we've exceeded expectations, I think we've now hit a bit of a point where what worked last year isn't necessarily going to keep working. I think we've seen that the last few weeks, and there's going to have to be some changes made. So while we're 8-2, and you read our board and you get some unbelievably one-eyed people, they think we're flying and we're going to smash everyone. I don't really see it that way. I think the next part of the season will be the real test for us, and we're going to have to make some real changes in our forward setup, the way we enter the ball into the 50s. Completely different, but very nice to be 8-2, and of course we've had a very favourable draw. Like it or not, people can ignore it, but I find it amazing that we played 2 teams that made the 8 last year, and we've lost them both. We can't run away from that. third team we're going to play is Essendon this week. So it's a funny one. I think we're playing. We're a better team than we were this time last year, but whether we can be a better team in the back half than we were last year is another thing.
Yeah, I'm not we're playing well. Obviously, we're in a good position, but at the last few weeks, I'm not completely sold on our game style and where it's going. I don't know whether we've been worked out or whether not everyone who's coming in is buying into what we're trying to do, so it falls apart. But we just haven't been at that same level. I know we're going to have ups and downs, and we only have to, try and get through and perform towards the end of the year. I get that, but it just worries me when we had that much dominating possession in the first quarter and a half against St Kilda, but had nothing to show for it. And it's just I just feel like bad habits are starting to creep in. They're starting to sort of show off a bit too much. It's just getting really frustrating and annoying.
Well, they're not lowering their eyes. Sorry, Lynn. They're not lowering their eyes. They're not falling forward. Last year, the chain of handballs would move pretty much to 55, 60 metres out. So you're in range, and it was a lot more open. And your Townsends and the like brought us a lot of separation because he done just such a selfless job taking his man out of the play. But that's sort of been worked out by other teams. They've set up differently, and our guys are quite naively just kicking it in from 80 metres now to Jack Rewalt and a bunch of smalls with about 35 blokes down there from the opposition. And I'll guarantee you, if we do that this week, I'll almost say we'll lose because Hurley and Goddard will have an absolute picnic.
Hurley may not be in, but...
Oh, well, yeah.
He's still got Hooker.
Hooker will be the one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a worry. It's not a massive worry because we're still a great pressure team and we get a hell of a lot, like you said, Michael, we get so many opportunities to go forward. But last year, our entries in that last, and let's be honest, I think we've won 19 out of 22 or something, so we can't complain. But it's a lot different, as you said, it's a lot different look the way that we're entering the ball into 50 and just keeps coming out.
Yeah,
I think it's not too bad at times to have a flat patch though, because we are sort of getting to the bye round. So I don't know, with the sort of manic pressure that Richmond plays, it's got to be tiring, right? So I think the bye round is probably coming at a good time for Richmond if that's the case. And I think the bombing in from 80 is probably just a bit of that seeping through as well, a bit of laziness creeping in.
We're just lucky that despite the attacking part of it falling down, that our backline's still staying pretty strong. I think last week we noticed how much we miss Grimes. I thought if he had have played, Gresham wouldn't have kicked 6 goals, and how he kicked 6 goals is beyond me. He's a good player, but Jesus, he's not a 6-goal player. So I think we kind of miss Grimes a bit, but yeah, I'm just thankful that our back six has been pretty sturdy because they're pretty stingy. Because if they weren't, we would have dropped a lot more games. And I know I sat there watching that St Kilda game, and I think a lot of us would have thought the same thing, that if this was against anyone remotely decent, and I can't really say no disrespect to St Kilda because it is a pretty harsh comment, but anyone of any decent calibre side would have had us 10 goals behind pretty quickly with how much we were sort of butchering the ball, and we gave them plenty of chances.
When they hit the front, we were gone. When they went, 2 goals ahead, we were absolutely gone. So you're right. It was lucky we were playing St Kilda.
Yeah, and I know we had the 2 plays out early on, and that doesn't help with your rotations. But, we're just missing easy shots, and we say it every week, but bad kicking's bad football, and it's going to cost us a big game soon. But
I think that's a league-wide trend, though, as well. Goal kicking has been quite average, I think, this year.
Yeah.
A lot of that comes down to how hard the players are working now.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm glad I don't play football these days. I can target anything. The amount of running they do, up, back, by the time they have even a set shot, they're stuffed. Yeah. And that's what I put it down to.
Absolutely. All right, we'll push on to the preview of this week's big game, Dreamtime at the G versus Essendon. Huge match with both clubs in winning form. It should draw a pretty big crowd there, I reckon, with Essendon's home game. Loonerty, what are you thinking of this game? How do you see it all panning out?
Yeah, I think it should be a good game, really. A few weeks ago, I would have been dreading this because I could have seen a 100-point pasting coming our way. But these last 2 weeks have really, really got some optimism. I still can't bring myself to say that we'll win any game, really. But if we keep it within sort of like a few goals, and as long as we're competitive throughout, I'd be pretty happy with it.
I think you're more than a good chance with. Like I know we've come off a win, but yeah, we're far from convincing at the moment. And Jack Rewalt could be out. You might get Hurley back in. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Rodney, what do you reckon the Tigers are going to do?
Well, I'm a bit like you. I'm a little bit worried. I mentioned it before, peaks and troughs, and that's what I think that the competition's a lot more even than your one-eyed supporter will have you believe, right across the board, and that's right through. You know, look at Geelong and Carlton last night at Geelong. It's a very, very even competition, and if you're, the difference is, you know, people say Richmond thump, Brisbane and thump Freo, but we were at the very top of our form then, and now we're a little bit below, and that's where the big gaps come. But as soon as Richmond start to, you know, trend downwards towards the medium, and the other sides come up a bit, there's nothing between. And at the moment, Essendon are on the up, Richmond are on the down. Where does that bring us? It brings us to a pretty close match, I reckon. And I think we're ripe for the picking, to be quite frank. I think we're obviously we should be the better team, but you wouldn't underestimate Essendon at the moment. They've found some form. We're out of form. I think it makes it pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. There should be some good matchups as well happening. I know I haven't been Stringer's biggest fan from a midfield perspective only. As a forward, I think he's been a good pickup for you guys, Loons. How have you seen his form as a forward as opposed to a midfielder?
Oh, fantastic. He's so clearly a forward. And I just hope that the midfield experiment is done. Just park him in the square if we need to. Last night he was fantastic. Geelong, he was fantastic. It's just where he needs to be. And if the rest of the team is up and about, he gets up and about as well. Like last night, he missed a few shots that he probably, if he, you know, sometimes he would probably kick. So he could have ended up with probably 5 or 6 last night. And it's so much better than having him through the midfield.
Yeah, that was an experiment gone wrong. I reckon that was a big factor to your poor form early on. He's not a midfielder at all. He just doesn't have that work rate to do it. But as a forward, his goal sense is pretty good. So, Rodney, I'm hoping we get Dylan Grimes back in because I reckon he might be the one to keep an eye on Stringer.
I was just going to say he is the absolute perfect matchup for Stringer. To me, Dylan Grimes is the best defender. It's hard to say when you get Alex Ranson in your side, but I think he's the best defender in the AFL. He just beats Moles, Talls, your Stringer types. And I think, just getting back to what you said about Stringer, I think you're right. He's Essendon's Josh Caddy. He's got to play that 80% forward, 20% middle, big beast, you know, skillful. Once he finds the right, and which it appears to be, he's going to be very, very dangerous. But I'm so thankful that we do have a Dylan Grimes. But as you said, whether he plays, and I think that's it's going to be a massive thing for me. If Grimes plays, I'll feel pretty comfortable. If Grimes doesn't play, well then, panic stations will set in a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And Rodney, what about Nick Vlauston? We saw last week he swung down forward and kicked 3 goals, which was pretty crucial for us. I know we tried him in that spot early on as more of a permanent fixture, and it wasn't really working out for us. Where do you think we're going to be best to use him on the weekend if Jack doesn't come up?
Yeah, well, if Jack doesn't come up, it's going to be really interesting. I think Vlauston's your quintessential swingman in your footy team. He can do everything. So, obviously, very good back. He will play forward a lot if Jack's not there because he's such an intelligent player. But I just wonder where they go. I don't think you can have Callum Moore play the lone role again. Whether or not a Townsend coming back is going to chop Callum Moore out, I don't really know if that would work. But I don't really know where else we go. Whether you read weight these types, but too much inexperience.
The one move I thought we may be able to try, just simply because Essendon don't have Joe Danaher in, is potentially bring in Garthwaite to play down back and throw Asprey up forward.
Yeah,
he's big, he can mark the ball. I mean, what other tall forwards do you guys have at the moment, Loons, that might stretch us, or is it
We only really are playing sort of two. So we've got McKernan, who's not that tall. He's about 191 or something. And Stewart. So that's really all we're operating with up forward. And then Stringer, who's sort of somewhere in the middle, and Laverty, who I think is also about 190, but he's sort of more mid-sized as well in the way he plays.
So it kind of makes it a possibility then that we don't have to deal with sort of three like massive players, I guess. That Rance could play on one of them, Garthwaite could play on one, and Broad plays a little bit taller if Grimes come in. So maybe that's an option if Jack doesn't get up.
Well, yeah, and if you're on a coaching tactical point of view, if you're Essendon, if Jack doesn't play, do you play hooker back? Do you throw him back up forward? So there's a lot of Hey?
He's been way too good back in defence.
That might be six small, and then what happens?
But the thing is, though, if you've got this trend that you're talking about of where Richmond are just bombing it in.
Well, they won't.
If Hooker is there, he'll just eat that up all day.
Well, he would.
And if he doesn't have a direct opponent, like if there's no talls, he can just roam free and play as a loose. Then
it might actually be advantageous in a silly way if Jack doesn't play this in that. So it's a really interesting match. A lot of
it's interesting because I don't know. I feel like if Rewalt does play, then Hurley is almost a perfect matchup for him, and I think he's gone to him most times when Richmond and Essendon have played. But if he doesn't, I don't know whether bringing in Hurley is a good idea, just because of the fact that Richmond, you guys don't really play talls that much.
Could you throw Hurley forward though?
No.
No.
I mean, he used to, but he got injured constantly when he played forward. And it wasn't until he moved back that he got some consistency in his game. And purely from a sense of I don't want him to be injured, I would hate to see him go forward. I would rather Hooker go forward than Hurley.
That's my worry with Asprey too, to be honest, Michael. He was an injury-prone player as a youngster, but when he settled down back, he just gets into his rhythm and he knows what he's doing. Forward's a whole different game, a whole different range of movements. And I know you have to do it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like messing with it, but I don't think we can throw Garthwaite and Moore up forward by themselves. So no, it's going to be really interesting.
Same with Troll. Like Troll's name is thrown around as well, but for every time I've seen him play as a key forward, he's looked lost. He's looked at his best playing as a ruckman. So, I mean, the only other possible solution is bring in Soldo to ruck, and then Curvis plays a lot more forward, which would probably be a benefit to his game time as well, not getting him hammered in the ruck again. But yeah, if Jack doesn't get up, it'll be really, really interesting to see what we do at the selection table.
By Lynch.
Just get him on loan, just bring him across. Is there any other players in line to come back in for you guys, Loons?
I don't think so. I think if there was a change, it would just be probably Hurley in for D, I think. D has been good, but Hurley is, one of the premier defenders of the club.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I see we look after you guys. I suppose
we gave you Basher for nothing, so
true. No, we've done all right out of that one. Basher's been a good one.
He's bad out next week too, by the way.
Yeah.
He didn't. Yeah, I mean he's a hard one to replace. He's our link-up go-to man. But I will say Jaden Short's had a pretty good year so far, so I think he may step up into that role. He's pretty good by foot as well. Any other changes you think happening for us, Rodney?
I think I'm interested in Sean Higgins. I think he's just, I'm not super convinced with him, to be quite honest. I mean, it's a long way to go. He's only a kid, but he's just got a fair bit of improvement to make on his game. But I'm not real big on Castagna just coming straight back in because I think he's been, to be quite frank, very ordinary. But for a big game like this, I think he may come in. And I know Corey Ellis played a very, very good game yesterday, but I don't think there's a spot there for him just yet. He's just going to have to keep banging the door down.
I'd like to see Stengel come in as a small forward.
Well, he wasn't even bloody named emergency last week. Apparently he brained it again yesterday. I'd like to see him in too. That would be the one.
For Higgins?
Stengel for Higgins, yeah.
Yeah, agree. And I don't know. Higgins will get there, but I don't know why we don't just let him learn his craft in the VFL. Like we're not at a point that we have to play him out of necessity. We do have other options, and I just don't know why we're not using them at the moment. It's a bit odd. But all right, before we finish up, we'll get a prediction from you both on the game. Rodney, I'll start with you. How do you think it's going to go, including margin?
I think it'll be a pretty fast, frenetic game through the middle with a lot of really quick ball movement by hand, both teams. It'll be a great game to watch, I think. Margin, I'm more hopeful than anything, but I think Richmond maybe by about 11 points.
Sounds good. And Loonerty?
I was going to say probably the exact same thing. Richmond by, around 2 goals, I'd say.
You don't have to be polite just because you're on a Richmond podcast. You can back your own team.
I can't do it.
It's just more, you don't want to jinx it, is it?
Many times. Yeah.
we understand. We know that feeling.
When you lose to a winless Carlton, it'll do things to you.
Yeah.
I still feel that way now about games. I sort of agree with you, Rodney. If we were to win, it's not going to be by a lot. It's going to be a lot closer than people think, and hopefully it is a good game. So I'll say, Tigers by between 11 and 15 points, but could quite easily be Essendon by the same margin. Just depends on how accountable we are and how much space we give their midfielders and forwards to move. So we're very interesting. Just a reminder, the game is on Saturday the 2nd of June at the MCG at 7:25pm. Make sure you get to your seats a bit earlier for the pre-game formalities, and it is live on Channel 7 at 7 o'clock and Fox Footy at 7:20pm. Rodney Dangerfield, Loonerty, thank you so much for coming onto the show tonight, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Michaels. Thanks, Rodney.
Thanks, mate.
I wish you luck, Looney, but I'd be completely lying if I was to say it and mean it. But hopefully it's a good game and no injuries, obviously.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and YouTube so you can follow all the roast and toast, the reviews and previews, and all topics Richmond. Also keep an ear out for our special episodes of interviews with past players. Go Tigers.